Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Plays. I am happy to be here with you because I just got my second shot. So if I fall over, it's all a good thing. Anyways, our guest today, the last in our incredible series of women during International Women's Month, is Tiffany, Delilah, Miranda. It's amazing what she's doing with Girls Make Beats. We'll get to that in just a second. Reminder to check out the Isotope Music Production Suite Pro. RX, Nectar, Ozone, 30 plugins, all pro level, free updates and tutorials, EQs, compressions, DSP, everything you could ever need, and super affordable, only $25 a month, plus a 7-day free trial. You cannot beat this, folks. Please go and check it out because we want to hear hits from you. Go to the link below or to isotope.com. Start making those hits now. By the way, one of our favorite companies, Leapwing, has this incredible tool called Route 1. So we did an ITL on it. Check it out.
We're only as good as our tools, and we're so blessed to have some great tools right now. In fact, feels to me like we've got the most creative tools that we've ever had right now. One of my favorites that I'm using a lot, and I want to share it with you guys, is called Route 1. And it's by Leapwing Audio. And they're a great company. They make a lot of other plugins. Go to leapwingaudio.com. Check them out. We're going to show you how I use Route 1 on a couple of songs today. Now, what it is it's a subharmonic generator. And what makes it unique is they found a way to get the audio to have less phase issues. And also, their quality of their sound is as good as it gets. So you can put on a stereo bus or you can put on individual elements, and they really do. They thought this through so well that it actually doesn't interfere with your creativity when you're working, because sometimes you're fighting a GUI, sometimes things aren't where they're supposed to be, and you got to go through 15 pages deep to get to something. And that messes with your creativity. But these plugins are really well thought out. It's a small team. They make the plugins that they want to use for their work. So check the company out, not just Route 1, but everything they offer. I'm going to share with you today how I use it. I'm going to start off with a song called California. It's by my dear friend Chase Looney. He's the artist. He's the producer, played all the parts. Gifted person. I'm going to show you how I use it on a kick and on a bass, and you'll hear the clarity of the way they work together, because we don't have any phase issues. Now, one thing that I try to do is when you're working in low frequencies, you really have to pay attention to the key of the song. So when you get up in higher frequencies, it's not as important. And so I figured out the key for this song, and so when I'm choosing a frequency range to manipulate, I make sure that is in key. So that's something that you need to kind of keep in mind. Now let's take a look at this. Listen to this. This is California.
California, where has my time been going? Not even California, where has my time been going? I feel you in.
I didn't have to struggle to get this to work. It just the plugin, it kind of the GUI, the GUI is so well done. You don't have to hunt for hidden pages. You don't have to do anything but just look at what you've got and adjust it. So let me show you what I did here. Well, you know what? Look, watch the plugin while I play it.
California, where has my time been going? Not even California.
Okay, so what you'll notice is this is probably right here. This is the frequency that the bass was recorded in. It generates an octave lower and higher, and then we've got these harmonics here that in my opinion, this is the money. This is the money right here. Now, I'll raise these a little bit so that you can hear them and hear what they're doing. Now, before I do that, you've got these parameters right here that you can that are where the money is. Now, I keep saying where the money is, don't I? A lot of money in this thing, I guess. What I like to do is I like to give it some dynamics, and this is could be considered a compression of a sort, and so I'm giving it a lot. Now, watch the sound get a little more bassy as I increase the decay. So if you think about it, if you've got a kick drum that goes ta, you don't hear any low end. But if it goes ta, then you hear the low end. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to extend the amount of time that we can hear the sound, and that in our ear that is interpreted as more bass. So watch.
California, where has my time been going?
If you notice, I actually got in time too, better timing too. This is pretty straightforward. You've got the three different frequency range. So it's kind of like a multi-band subharmonic generator. In fact, it is a multi-band multi-band. Sometimes I can't say it. A multi-band subharmonic generator, and so we've got a little bit of color. We can add color. We can add harmonics. There's a lot of creativity that you can do here. I'll take it out, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
California, where has my time been going? No leaving California.
Okay. By the way, I hope you're listening on some quality headphones so you can hear these lower frequencies. Sometimes I get lazy and listen to my laptop, and I don't learn much. But get some good headphones. All right. And now you can determine how much of the treated signal you want, and then add that in. So I'm going to exaggerate it just to make a point.
California, where has my time been going? No leaving California.
Kind of sounds good, doesn't it? All right, let's check out another one. I'm right in the middle of a mix with Big Frida. It's produced by Mike Omega Fonseca and Josh Valle and Mac Montgomery of Denim, and all-star team, really. And so right now I've got the drums the way I like them. I've got the bass the way I like it, and that's as far as I've gotten. And so let's check it out. I think this will allow you to hear the interplay between the bass and the kick and how Root 1 affects those for us, okay? Here we go. Okay, so now let's see what we did. I'm gonna take these headphones off. I'm gonna solo the bass first. You know what? I'll A-B it for you in with a kick. Okay, so we got a little bit more going on in this one. Now it's the same principle. We've chosen the fundamental, the main note that we were given, and then with Root 1 we've generated some octaves that allow us to get more low end and more top end in the bass. So here again, I've done the same sort of thing. The dynamics are a little less. I'm increasing the decay to put it in time, because sometimes we don't realize we all know where the note starts. That's important, but it's just as important where the note stops if you want to get the groove and the feel right. So always pay attention to not just where a note starts to determine if it's in time or not, but also where the note ends. And so I extended the note again here. You know what? Let me show you. Let me show you this. Okay, that's without my decay. You can mess with it. Even when you get a little radical and a little drastic with Route 1, it still sounds good. It still sounds musical. I love this bass sound thanks to this guy right here. This is, as you can see, it's a creative tool. Like we think of it sometimes as a plug-in, but these like I said when we started this off, these are tools and these are creative tools. Check out the whole all the other plugins they make. Dyne One, Stage, those are all really, really good that I use. So I hope I convinced you to try this out because I use it on everything. Try it on pianos, try it on vocals, try it on. It works really well on vocals. If you've got like a screechy vocal or something that was recorded and you don't have a lot of roundness in the tone, this works really well. And the way you can set it up by changing the frequency and stuff, it's pretty amazing. So, all right, there we go. Glad you guys dropped by. See you soon.
Hope you enjoyed that ITL. I'm telling you, Route 1 and everything Leapwing does is really incredible. Hit us on our socials, like and subscribe, sign up for our newsletter. We always want to be in touch with you and hear from you. And now to our guest. She is a manual reading, wonky mixing engineer and teaching maverick who is changing the game. Girls Make Beats has gone from her initial idea into something quite substantial, and we are so proud of her. Please enjoy our conversation with the badass, Tiffany Delilah Miranda. Tiff!
Hey, hello. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Now, for full transparency, I'm on the Girls Make Beats board. That doesn't mean I can't interview her. It just means that I have insight to how amazing this is and why it's good for you to watch this. Tiff, you are, the first thing I would say is that it is very hard to achieve unless you work hard and you bust your behind. And as a grinder myself, just know that lesson is not just to pat your back, it's to tell people in the audience, that's how you achieve.
Yes.
Right? Do you agree?
Absolutely. I was just having this conversation with a friend yesterday, and I was like, so crazy when you hear that term or, that's that old adage that, hard work makes dreams come true. It sounds like this kind of like mystical thing, but it actually is really true. When you put your mind to something and your blood, sweat, and tears, you're bound to see results, so.
Yep. So the original mission, where did it come from? How did it start? Where is it now?
Right. So I started the organization nearly 10 years ago, and I started it because I myself am a recording artist, a music producer, an engineer, and DJ. And I started at a very young age. I started singing when I was probably about 11 years old and decided to start taking my career seriously at 15. At the time I was offered my first contract through Uncle Luke, and happened to be signed to him at the time. And he was,
oh my God, I didn't know
big brother. Yeah, he was like my big brother. I met him the first day that I went to Uncle Luke's office. And Uncle Luke was like, yeah, this is my artist, Pitbull. And he was just so cool. He would take me to like all the recording studios. I would sing hooks for him. And then he would come to like my talent shows at school. And he would tell people like, this girl's a diamond in the rough. She's a star. You got to hear her. And I was really fortunate to have him kind of be my big brother in that sense. However, I was exposed really early on to the fact that the studios and the creative process was very male dominated. There were virtually no women in the room. It was literally a bunch of men telling me as a young girl, like what I should be singing, doing, wearing, who I should be, what was like the, kind of the hot thing. And at the time I had just joined my jazz band in high school, and I was learning about all these amazing singers like Nina Simone and Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald. And I fell in love with the way they were able to command their voice and use their instrument. And I would go to the studio and try to do that. And it was like, no, you need to just sing cuter and you need to sing sexier. And it was very frustrating for me. So I very early on took an interest in music production and being able to create my own music. I remember working with producers Cool and Dre. I would sing hooks for them. And I remember looking around their room and I was like, oh, okay, cool. What is it that they have? What's that program? I was like, okay, Pro Tools. I need that. They have a UA 6176. I need that. They have a Phantom S88. I need that. When I turned 18, I literally like saved up every penny I had, working a regular 9-to-5 job and overtime, and built my own home studio. And I would take on local clients, just like friends and family that were like, you know, kind of messing around, not really taking their career too seriously. And I grew a love for production. And I was wondering why my stuff didn't sound like what was on the radio. Like it didn't have the same clarity. I had the same board. I had, you know, I did my research, and that really opened my ears and eyes to audio engineering. And I fell in love with that. I just went so deep down the rabbit hole with audio engineering. And I think a lot of that is due to my dad. He's like the technical person. He fixes like fax machines and copy machines. So growing up, he would have like these huge, and it was like the big corporate ones. So he would bring home these huge like copy machines that have like a million little pieces, but he knew where everything went. And I always was so fascinated by that. So he always says I get the technical side from him. But, you know, I found myself again, you know, just going so deep down the rabbit hole, learning everything I could possibly learn about Pro Tools, which at the time I'm kind of dating myself here, but it was Pro Tools 6. And it was before YouTube. So there was no YouTube University. I would literally like take the bus to Barnes and Nobles on Kendall Drive and, you know, just sneak a peek at the book and like go there with my notebook. And, you know, at the time I couldn't even afford to buy the book. So it was, you know, really, really challenging experience to be self-taught, but, you know, I was in love with it. I would go to studios and, you know, work really hard on trying to like pick the other producers and engineers' brain. And then Girls Make Beats came into play because as I started to want to build my resume and work with professional recording artists, I did a few internships in Miami. And unfortunately, it was treated very unfairly because of my gender. I wasn't taken as seriously. And I was really eager to learn. So, you know, quickly left those internships and again, was just a fly on the wall at every studio I could be in, and eventually got taken seriously at a recording studio called Sobe Swag Labs. And they offered me my first in-house engineer position. And it's crazy how the world works kind of full circle. I was able to engineer for a lot of the same artists I was singing hooks for when I was 15. So I reconnected like with Cool and Dre. I became Dre's personal engineer for about 6 months, where I've had the opportunity to engineer not only for him, but for like DJ Khaled and Rick Ross and Fat Joe. And since I made the move to LA, been able to engineer for like Uzi Vert, French, T.I., a lot of big hip hop dudes. But parallel to my career and never losing sight of how difficult it was for me to get in the door and be taken seriously, I created the organization to create a space for young girls to explore these very, you know, amazing fields of engineering and production that offer longevity. You know, especially as a woman or growing into a woman, you know, when you think about things like, you know, having a family and not having to be on tour and still being able to make money and a living off of something that you love. So the organization started very humbly again, you know, nearly 10 years ago. It literally was my sister and I with one laptop, one DJ controller, one MIDI controller, and about 25 girls in a classroom with a ton of candy to keep their attention. But nonetheless, we did it. And we took a bunch of pictures and we were reaching out to manufacturers. And, you know, eventually one day had the opportunity to go to NAMM and meet a lot of these manufacturers in person and shake their hands and show them everything we were doing with one setup. And fortunately, we were able to forge some really great partnerships with our industry partners. And now the organization has just blossomed to a totally different environment where pre-COVID, the girls would walk into a classroom with state-of-the-art equipment, their own setups with like a MacBook Pro, their own DJ controller, their own MIDI controller. We bring in music industry professionals that help mentor the girls. And they've just done some incredible things. The opportunity to just continue to spiral to where I literally am still pinching myself. We've had, you know, the girls do an official remix for Janet Jackson last year, which was insane. She printed it up on vinyl and performed it at a live concert, invited the girls backstage. And then again, pre-COVID, they just did a commercial with Ford and Angela Bassett, and they handled all of the music for that. Their music got placed as in the content piece, which was pretty amazing. And it's just been an uphill, amazing journey, and been very fortunate again to be receiving so much support.
Hey, Tiffany, my father was very technical, and you spoke about your father being technical. It feels to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's a lot about this I don't know. All I know is we make an effort, but the effort doesn't seem to be producing the results that you get with what you're doing. So keep doing that, please. But what role do the parents play in all of this? Because you were inspired by a parent, and then you had the bug, and then you moved on. Should there be some kind of course for the parents of young children, young girls, that can kind of give them an insight on how important it is to teach their daughters? My daughter's very successful, but I did that with her. I tried to prepare her for a male-dominated profession, which is baking. I think what you're doing is amazing. If you look at like NBA players, they're playing organized basketball at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, so you can't get them too young. But is there in your repertoire, am I wrong or right to try and have something to get the parents to help early on?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And we've been very fortunate to work with a lot of amazing parents that are very supportive of what their, child wants to pursue as a career. And as an organization, what we do is we host various orientations, even prior to their daughter joining the program, where we talk about the music industry, kind of some of the things that they can expect, throughout the program and throughout their careers lifelong. So, parents play a huge role, and it's definitely important to keep them informed.
I knew that. I know you did.
And side note, I'm super passionate about, even my mom, who was my momager for a long time. And I was very fortunate. I always tell that story too. Unfortunately, not everybody has the support of their parents, especially in the music industry. And I was blessed for my mother being so supportive from an early age. And, I always credit her for Girls Make Beats being around as well, because she really was my rock through the ups and downs and challenges in this industry.
And the fact is that oftentimes teachers, like cops, oftentimes take the role of parents, even though it's not fair. And I think that when you go into what you're doing and even what we're doing, because God knows we've had so many parents who've come up to us just emotional because they had a tool to help make a decision for their kids. And in kind of my various advisory roles, I tell people all the time, we're training the students, but we have to get the parents to pay for those who can. Not all of them can. So you're always convincing two people. You're always dealing with two sides of the coin. And that's even when somebody's missing, then you have to become the person that they trust.
Right.
And that's why, to me, it was important. We're having amazing women on in Women's Month. We just had Susan Rogers, who worked with Prince and is just amazingly brilliant. Wow. We got a few more coming up. But the point of these shows is to make sure people in our audience understand that all the technical stuff is happening, all the record making stuff is happening, all the mixing is happening, but you also can take these skills and this mission and be lofty with it and do more with it and share it and build a community. You have to be an activist to build a community. It doesn't just happen. And from the time I've gotten involved in terms of what now sponsors and stuff are giving to the Girls Make Beats and taking to the next level is amazing, but it speaks to the fact that your mission is pure, you're getting results, and it's just amazing. How do the girls grow? I come in as a 11-year-old, and at 14, I've been in your program for a while. Where is their growth? Is it technically and personally and professionally?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. One of, I always say, the most beautiful byproducts of the work that we do at the organization is really seeing these young girls grow in confidence. And in such a short amount of time. I mean, we've had girls that have been with us for years at this point, but literally by day 2 or 3, they've transformed into this other, human being. And as you were touching on, like with the parents and, getting them involved and everything, I've had parents come up to me and some of our, programming where we have like a 5-day beat intensive. We actually did this over at a 1500 Sound Academy last year too. So shout out to them. That was awesome. But literally like day 1, or let's rewind a little bit. When they come in for their initial intake process, we have an interview process. A lot of the times the girls are really shy and looking down at their feet and it's hard to hear them speak. And day 1, when they join the program, they pick a DJ name and it's like their Sasha Fierce alter ego, their Superwoman alter ego. And the confidence grows just exponentially. By day 5, when we have our graduation ceremony, they get to DJ for their friends and family and play their original beat. And I've literally had parents come up to me in tears, like, who is that little girl? Like, she's normally so shy. She's normally so timid, and then they also build a sisterhood. There's so many different beautiful aspects of what it is that we provide when you pour into these kids and let them know from an early age that you care. So it definitely transcends beyond the technical and creative skill.
Matter of fact, Dave, I don't know, we've never shared this on the show, but Dave's name is actually not Dave Pensado. We came up with an alter ego. His real name is Mortimer Snurd.
Oh.
But
it's under ERD, not URD.
I love that. That sounds so sci-fi.
Yeah. And that's actually the best thing I get called by this bunch of people that we have on our show. For staff.
Is there a need for?
We got a great staff.
Is there a need for boys make beats?
What I will say is when it comes to the organization and providing that sisterhood and seeing these other byproducts, I think that having, institutions in place that just nurture and pour into young boys is also really important. I think the work that we do is specifically with girls to kind of, approach the gender gap, because statistically, girls and women account for less than 2% of music producers and less than 3% of audio engineers. So our job personally at our organization is to pour into the young girls. But I myself I'm going to be a new mom of a little boy. So, I definitely know how important it is to pour into our boys as well.
And by the way, just statistically, the Annenberg inclusion report came out recently, and the numbers are still bad with all the awareness. But that's all right. We're going to change that. But it's good to know that this is data driven. And what a lot of companies should understand, a lot of people watching the show understand, this goes to your bottom line. This is about you being fair or understanding the Me Too movement or whatever the case may be. When you have people that are talented, gifted, bring a different perspective, bring a new audience, you make more money. Yeah. So we're going to be announcing something soon. I'm chairing up a group having to do with some initiatives, which I'll talk about at a later time. So it's important that people understand the business aspect of this, that, and it's why so many people get involved with the organization, because they understand the impact top to bottom. Kudos to you.
Tiffany, so we've been talking more about how to educate the young women and get them into the process. What about educating me? What about educating my peers? And give me some suggestions based on the fact that you've been a firsthand recipient of a lot of this stuff, being told by someone that shouldn't be telling you anything, how to sing a song, things like that. So be candid, be honest, be brutal, and tell me and my compatriots what one thing should we work on first and second. Those two things, and let's make sure we get it started amongst our peers.
Right. I think the first word that comes to mind is inclusion. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, again, going back to my former 15-year-old self and, remembering what it felt like to be the only girl in the room and not having a voice. and not being encouraged to have a voice, even when I got into production and I would show my beats off, and literally I had people tell me girls don't make beats. And that's exactly why I named this Girls Make Beats. So I think that that's important is really just making sure that girls and women are part of the creative process and feel welcome to be a part of that. So even if, let's say, for instance, you're in a studio with a young female artist or just a female artist in general, and you see that maybe she's not expressing herself, you can ask questions like, what do you think about this? Does the tempo feel right? Does this, song selection feel, or this instrument selection feel right? Just really helping to engage and provide that comfortable environment, because that's one of the main reasons that we've seen that there haven't been more girls involved in these fields. We literally do an entire interview process where we ask girls from ages 7 to 17, certain questions to kind of gauge where they think the gender gap is coming from. So we'll ask things like, why do you think there's so few girls and women that do these jobs? And from all walks of life, from all over the United States and now the world, we've been able to work with some girls internationally as well. It's pretty much verbatim that the world thinks boys are better than girls, or girls aren't given the same opportunities, or we're not taken seriously. And we liken it to, as far as like the comfortable kind of feeling, we liken it to sports. So a lot of times, I'll be in the schools interviewing these young girls, and I'll ask them questions like, well, if you were at a park and you saw a bunch of boys playing basketball, would you feel comfortable asking to play with them? And most of them immediately, like their whole body language, they're like, no way. I'd rather go play with my girlfriends on the other side of the park. And I asked them, well, what if it was boys and girls? And immediately they're like, yeah, well, that's cool if there's boys and girls. And then when I say, what if it's all girls? And they're immediately like, yeah, of course. So it's that whole mentality, I think, of kind of, being included in something and seeing others that look like you is really important as well. So definitely inclusion is a big factor. And the other thing that I would say is really just making sure that your support system, for the girls and women who are trying to break through, and not saying things, especially I think in the developmental stage, because I know initially when I started, I was just learning, and I've literally had producers throw my CD in the trash and say, no, you need to let me build you back from the bottom up. And instead of having an encouraging, environment of like, wow, you took an interest and you learned this on your own, this is how it can be better, and really providing that platform. So I think those are two ways that I would suggest.
What men have to understand is that you have to create safety. Mm-hmm. You have to create a safe space.
Right.
And just instead of trying to decide it case by case, just live your life in a way where you create safe spaces. Mm-hmm. And then people can open up and you become the beneficiary of that, not only as a human, but literally better skill, better music, better stuff, better beats, better everything. It's just so much easier than being crude, in my opinion. And it doesn't mean you can't be tough. It doesn't mean that you can't be a teacher. It doesn't mean that you can't jerk somebody's chain, but you have to do it safely in a way that makes sense. But that's where I have hope in that the movement has been ignited by you and others, and that people are paying more attention. And now as it becomes more singular, meaning that you don't have to have a job at a commercial studio specifically to get training, specifically to get on a job, you can go in your bedroom and turn some stuff around and create fire.
Yes.
And this ecosystem is being built. Have you noticed that the activism amongst your generation and peers that's growing now, that you're no longer just the only person kind of in the wind doing it? Are you seeing it other places?
I will say that there has been there's been more effort now, more so than 10 years ago, that I've seen even from like industry partners and outreach. And we were very fortunate over the summer to, have outreach from record labels. So like Columbia Records reached out, and, the co-president of Rock Nation's getting involved, and we've gotten a lot of support in that sense. But there's definitely still a lot of work to do. And that's why we're here. That's our mission.
Nobody builds anything by themselves. Who's the rest of the badass team members of Girls Make Beats? Give them a shout out.
Yeah, so we're a small but mighty team, I always say. Initially, again, starting with my sister, who is an attorney, and from day one, would take days off of her paid work as a lawyer to come do these workshops with me in the schools. So she's a huge asset and ally to the organization, as well as our Miami chapter leader who came on with us probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Her name is Stitches. And she's the bomb. Love her. It's my sister from another mister. But she works for iHeartRadio, but she's also an insane talent and just pours so much into the girls and gets them involved in community events and iHeart events. Because of her, they've been able to DJ at really great things like Jinkle Ball. And then there's Whitney, who's my other sister on the West Side. And she's our LA chapter leader / podcast producer. Big shout out to Whitney. I credit her a lot for making this initial move from Miami to LA, because when we were on tour, she was spearheading one of the largest studios here in LA. And she was just like, this is so dope. We took the girls on a field trip to the studio. And she was like, if there's anything I can ever do to help, please let me know. And if you ever decide to do something here in LA, let me know. And then I was like, well, actually, called her probably about like a month or two later. And I was like, were you really serious about that? Because I think I'm going to make the move. She was like, yes, let's go. So she's brought on some really amazing opportunities. She's, super bubbly and, has, that just like that magnetic energy. And she's been able to, bring a lot of great relationships to the table as well. So that's kind of our core team. And then we have, we're now expanding. So we just brought on a correspondence director, Abby. She's actually been with us in the past as our community outreach director for various projects, but now we're bringing her on for a full-time correspondent position as we're rolling out our clubs model. But that's, our initial kind of tight team. And then we have an amazing team of advisors, which, of course, Herb is on. He's been able to, garner some awesome opportunities for the girls, including, 1500 Sound Academy, and recently SoundCloud came on and supporting as well. So thank you so much, Herb, for being a rock star and, supporting our girls. We have some really awesome, team members. Also the global head of Spotify, Amanda Butler, just joined our board. We have the head of strategy for scripted and non-scripted Viacom CBS joined our board as well. And then Allison, who is like just a superstar, superwoman. Love her. And she's helping with a lot of great stuff. And so is Becky over at Harmon. So don't want to miss anybody, but, we've been very fortunate, to have a great team of supporters. Oh, and shout out to Omar as well on behalf of Rock Nation, who helps to bring opportunities for the girls too. So really, really amazing. And Tristan, oh my God, I'm going to feel bad if I don't say it, everybody now. Tristan at Capitol Records too. She's doing some really cool stuff for the girls.
Say, one of the old adages in life is, you are who you surround yourself with. And your board has always been, people from Morgan Stanley, president of Paramount Music. It's just been quality folks who were on early. And it speaks to, and again, anybody who wants to use this in the audience, you can. If you're trying to investigate an organization that you're going to join, or a manager, or somebody's asking you something, look at who they surround themselves with.
Right.
It tells you a lot about whether it's worthy or not. And if it's not worthy, don't do it. But when it's in your particular case, which speaks to the mission, it's always been exemplary. And it says a lot about, again, the mission, which is important, but also the people driving the buses, who I wanted to shout out. Now, in the teaching part, somebody's got to stay on top of techniques and changing stuff and technology. Is that you and the team as well?
That's mostly me. We're working on building the team, but I've always been that person that like my favorite books to read have been manuals. I'm always like subscribed to every website and like figuring out what the latest updates are and making sure the girls are on top of everything so that they're just really sharp.
Alicia Keys is like that, by the way.
Oh, really? How cool.
Good company.
That's awesome. Yeah. But yeah, seriously, I've read literally every Waves manual there is, every piece of equipment we have, I read the entire manual.
Wow.
Which, funny enough, I think is what ultimately was able to break barriers for me because, even though I was facing all these challenges as a young woman trying to make my way in the recording studios, at the end of the day, because I am very fascinated with just the nature of engineering and producing, and I would take that extra step to learn the extra quick keys, get my Pro Tools certification. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it was what really matters is when you save your client time, they save money. And when they look at it from that aspect, you become more valuable than the guy that's walking in high and late all the time. So I'm testament, I get tested that all the time.
Tiffany, I'm curious about coming to America too. Can you explain to me how all that came about? What's the title of the song? And I'm going to go watch the movie later on when I get through here.
Yes. Yeah. So I actually intended to also give a big shout out to Randy Spenlove, who also is on our advisory board. And the way that opportunity came about is we were actually working on a compilation project initially for a tech company that had reached out. And they were doing this massive conference with Serena Williams being the keynote speaker. It was for 30,000 women all over the world, and they needed original music. So they reached out to us. And I was like, well, I've been working on this one compilation album, but this forced us to set a hard deadline and get it done. And the compilation album is just something that I had been wanting to do for so long. And it comprises, not only the girls, but other women who are involved with Girls Make Beats. So Stitches is on it. I'm on it. The studio owner, Mean Girl, she has her own recording studio in Van Nuys where we rent our studio space. She's on it. But then the girls are also on it. They're co-producing it. They're writing, they're singing, they're rapping. So it was this really cool, 9-song album that we were able to put together. And as the stars would align, as we started building our relationship with Viacom CBS, which Randy is on the Paramount side of that, he was there's an opportunity for the girls to submit music and for the organization to submit music for this new Coming to America project. And I was just so elated about it. I sent him the entire project. And so they picked the one song named Queendom, which is a collaboration between myself and Mean Girl. And it's kind of a up-tempo, Austin Powers funk vibe, because the compilation touches on everything. It has we have a Latin song on there. We have a hip hop song. We have an Arabic song, an Afrobeat song. And so this was our ode to funk. And that's the one that they chose. And they were able to insert it in a scene where Eddie Murphy's son is scalping tickets. So we received our first placement, and I was just freaking out when I saw the credits and stuff rolling at the end of the movie. I hardly ever watched the credits, but I was like, this is one to watch. So that's how that came from.
There's money in watching credits, by the way. Just but that's and when he was outside Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was the instrumental piece of it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
And how do you with the Janet Jackson remix? How do you divide the process up between the various girls, or do you do most of it? Do you allow them to fail and then come back and critique that? How, you get 4 or 5 girls working on it at once. How does that work?
So at the organization, we just make sure that at its core, everything is encouraged to be collaborative and very anti-competitive, but we do want the girls to kind of be their own competition. So with that being said, what we did for that specific project is we had a group of girls in LA who worked on a trap remix. And then we had a group of girls in Miami that worked on a Latin remix, and we just submitted both. And she fell in love with the Latin remix and decided to, officially endorse it on vinyl.
Wow.
Smart way to do it.
Cool.
What's the future hold, Tiff? Where does it go now?
So we're super excited. Recently, we partnered with a huge music partner, which we can't disclose just yet, but it'll soon be public knowledge, to roll out our Girls Make Beats clubs model, where girls can actually start their own student leadership clubs in the schools. So we're already piloting that starting next month. Fingers crossed, everything. Our first initial district will be Compton, which we're super excited about. And then by third quarter, we plan to have a national reach And by fourth quarter, we're working on some international activations to get girls involved in Nigeria and UK and in Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed because I have a reputation as a grinder, and I think you're kicking my ass.
Oh, no.
Jesus, Lord have mercy.
I'm so inspired by you guys and everything that you've, accomplished over the years. Pensado's Place is like so amazing. I remember the first time I was asked to do Pensado's Place, and I was like the Pensado's Place. I'm fangirling a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, well, we were. I was talking to somebody this morning about the growth from when we first heard about you and then had you on. And then as I get to have, the cool seat that I have, even folks on your board, what you do in between board meetings, all of us we call each other afterwards and go, damn, are you kidding me? Do you know that she did all that shit? Like, it's just, I am both proud and awed. It is amazing. I think uplifting women is a male responsibility, and the idea of you being so comprehensive and being recognized and doing such good, and then the irony of going to have a boy. Is your way.
I sure thought I was having a girl, by the way. I was like, oh, it's of course going to be a girl. Girls make beats, feminine power. And it was like, it's a boy.
I think we needed to catch up. I think God said, wait, we got to, because the girls are getting attention. But we are proud, certainly, to know you. This platform is here for you anytime you need it. You will have to kick me off the board physically. So
this is a lifetime thing. You're part of the club now. So.
and we have some ideas that I want to hit you privately to include Tiffany skills. So I'll hit you with that. Not like you have enough to do. I'm building this, and I got $1 million here, and I've got that, and I've got clubs. I got a baby coming. I got.
I appreciate any and all support. Thank you.
You're amazing. So Dave, take us home with this wonderful, instructive side of the audio business that's doing great things.
Okay. It feels to me like we're coming to the beginning of the end of this pandemic. Things are opening up, and it's been a year where there weren't that many opportunities to get young girls into a studio situation. But as we come out of this quarantine, let's make that a priority to see how and when and learn about trying to bring the ladies with us. And I think it's been said already, it's going to be a better world with music that's made by everyone for everyone.